cried the sparrow.
You're listening to the Sailing into Oblivion podcast, where we sit down with everyday people who do extraordinary things. I'm your host, Jerome Rand.
Okay, today we have a triple podcast, a first on the Sailing into Oblivion podcast, where I actually used 3 microphones for 3 people on an in-person interview. Now, it was a little tricky to meld the two together, but I think I did a pretty good job. It took a while, but anytime there was a little offset, I was able to just about get it perfect. So I think the audio is pretty darn good. I'm excited. So today, welcome Brendan and Chanell, who I met up. They reached out because they were in Fort Pierce. We went. We had a couple of drinks out in the town. And then we hit it off so well that we wanted to do a podcast together. So before we all took off in our separate directions, we sat down aboard Mighty Sparrow and talked about everything from crazy drifting boats, all sorts of adventures that they've had. They've owned 2 different boats, done everything going down to Panama. We talk a little bit about rescue efforts from shout out to Paul Trammell and the future going into hopefully the Pacific and all that sort of stuff. All wrapped into one. It was a super fun conversation. It was great to meet up with these two. They've got a wonderful YouTube channel, link in the description. Definitely want to check it out. It's just starting out, and so you get to kind of follow along as the adventure unfolds. But anywho, that's today's podcast. And I do want to say, if you want to help support this podcast, or first, if you want the stuff ad-free, you can always join the Patreon. And thank you so much to those who do that. We've also got the one-time donations that help me basically afford this boat and everything. And where she goes, I go. And we got all the merch, and we got the total boat 5% discount rate, all that sort of stuff, the Amazon wish list. And if you want to just reach out to the show, sailinginto-oblivion.com, and you can inquire about either coaching, speaking events, or if you just want to reach out to the show and say hello. Those go right to me, and I read them all. So thank you all so much. Hopefully you enjoy my podcast conversation with Brendan and Chanell. Thanks for listening. I think we are. Yep, we're live.
Nice.
Brandon, Chanell, Jerome, 3-person podcast. First time ever.
Question?
Yes, sir.
Well, comment. Yeah. It's Brendan.
Yes.
D-A-N.
Bren.
D-A-N.
Brendan.
Yeah.
Like Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Brendan, patron saint of sailors.
Patron saint of sailors.
Oh,
Irish patron saint
very
of sailors,
nice. Yeah. Saint Jerome was the patron saint of, I think, animals. Maybe that's why whales come up to the boat all the time. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
And lady, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. This is fun.
No, I'm glad. I'm so glad you guys reached out and everything. And I wish I had been able to peel through all of your YouTube videos, but the ones that I did watch were very, very good.
Cool.
And the adventure is, you guys have been around.
We've had fun, and we appreciate that.
No, for sure. It's always, I like some of the channels that, granted they've been on for years and years and years, and there's this back catalog of all this sort of stuff. I really like it when you hook in to a channel that's like kind of just coming into its own, and then you get to kind of, I don't know, it just seems like you're there on the adventure a little bit more, rather than going back like 7 or 8 years. Even there's some stuff on mine from the trip around the world, but none of it's episodic, I suppose. It's just an absolute mess. Dumpster fire, it's been described as. But regardless,
amazing.
Can we, as you guys came over here, obviously the big news was today was a crazy day. Let's just start with that. Can we get a breakdown of what happened today?
All right, so I woke up promptly around 7:30 and looked at the sun in the sky, and I was like, today's going to be a great day. And as I normally do, I normally start the day off very well. But I don't know, around like 10:30, I go outside and look at, I was like doing a project, and then I was like, well, that boat was 200 feet in front of us, and now they're 50 feet alongside of us.
Oh.
And yeah, so in the spot in Fort Pierce that we're at right now, there's a couple of derelict, semi-derelict boats.
Oh, there's a bunch of them out
there.
Yeah.
There's a couple of them out over there, and that boat was one of them. So we had to get in touch with, try to hail on the radio if anybody in the area could help. I mean, the boat had stopped where it was at, so its anchor had hooked in somewhere.
And it's only blowing 15 knots, if
right,
that,
right.
today.
But the current was, like peak going out.
That's
so
right,
you've
like
got
4
here,
knots.
Fort Pierce is pretty notorious for its current, and so you've got wind opposing current. But we got in touch with the Coast Guard. I guess they found out who the owner was, but they just told us that they were going to come to the boat. We got in touch with another boat that was beside us, and they knew who the owner was. So.
And they weren't on board, though. Nobody was on board.
Correct.
No.
They were not on board, and their boat was in jeopardy too.
Because they're in his path.
Right.
Yeah.
He drags anymore.
It's a nightmare situation.
Yeah.
Dominoes.
Yeah. Chanel, can you just move the mic closer?
Yes.
So get comfortable like you were before. Don't worry. Everybody does it. There we go. Okay.
Thanks.
Continue.
Okay.
No.
Not me.
This is going to be a sound level nightmare from which I will never escape.
I really appreciate my sponsorship and so anyway, I dinghy over. They're on the big fast sailboat in the harbor.
Yeah.
That lost its mast a long time ago. So anyway, so I go and contact them, and super nice couple, and they're like, yeah, we'll come over to the boat. So they come over to the boat, and then in that process tripped our anchor because their anchor had caught our chain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And tripped our anchor, and so we both start going back. And so I run down, fire up the engine.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know that at the time. So they had actually left. They hopped aboard, started fooling around with their anchor, and then they're like, we're going to move when it's slack tide.
Yeah.
Bye. And we're like, okay, it would be cool if you kept an eye on it. We exchanged numbers, and then 20 minutes later.
No, I don't even think that. Yeah, it was like, not that long later anyway.
Yeah.
Both
it's like, we're
dragging
moving back now. And I think when they had tried to make sure that boat the anchor was dug in, like in that process had pulled, I think their anchor was already on our chain.
Over the top of yours, yeah.
And so it pulled and it popped our anchor up. And so then we started, floating back not long after. And
was your anchor like still? You guys are in the exact same spot that you were in during the gale, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that anchor was in.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Wow.
Which is odd because his boat also was by us the whole time.
In the gale.
But I did notice the other day the boat was like sideways, so I don't know if he drug and maybe during the gale caught somebody else's anchor, maybe then it popped off. So his boat was like oddly sideways to the current in the wind, or it was like it was just facing wherever the wind was, but it was really odd how it was like sideways to the current.
Yeah.
So
it's not.
or maybe it got caught around his
keel.
Yeah, like
that.
a fin keel or something.
Right.
And so I'm trying to pull up the anchor, and they're running their engine on their boat, which I had to make sure. I was like, this boat does have a working engine. He's like, yeah, so thank God that was the case also.
Yeah.
And so I end up pulling up my anchor, and then pulling up the chain, and then there's his anchor
right?
is like tied up in our chain. So
Well, and once they had taken off, and then the boat came closer to us, I mean, they hit alongside of us.
Oh.
They made full contact on the side.
Yeah.
So
luckily
obviously
it's a small
it's
boat,
slow,
though.
and it's smaller than our boat, so we were able to fend it off.
How big is their boat? Like
22, 24
okay,
feet.
okay.
You know, so it's like
Yeah.
maybe 25
Still,
or something.
fiberglass on fiberglass.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. It didn't
so-
do any damage or anything. You know.
Well,
Buff
we were.
that out.
Yeah.
Well, we were kind of
You ain't close unless you're scraping
anticipating.
paint.
Rubbin's racing, man.
Yeah.
Luckily, we did drop down the solar panel. That would have gotten messed up.
Oh,
That's all on her too. She's maybe we need to drop the solar panel. I'm like, it's fine.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
They're
just
good over
in
there.
case.
quick thinking. Quick
Yeah.
thinking.
Let's put the fenders out. It's gonna be fine. You know?
But yeah, it all turned out to be fine. It was just a weird day, that's for sure.
No, it's never
Yeah.
fun. We've definitely, there's been a few places where there's a few derelict boats that are around, or I don't even want to call them that, just boats that are anchored that no one is on. Like the owners live in town or whatever. And then big squalls or storms come in, and all of a sudden these boats are dragging all over the place. And they're headed in towards the marina, and we're sitting there trying to fend them off from other boats and all this stuff. And I don't know. I for one, I've only left this boat at anchor, I think twice in my life, and like gone and flown somewhere to go do something and then come back. And it was always under the watchful eye of
Right,
quite a few
right.
people.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I felt at least reasonably comfortable, but I never really feel comfortable. Even when it's tied to a dock, I'm like, can somebody take
Yeah,
a
same
picture?
with us.
Yeah.
Get the water line in there so I can see, is it sinking?
Yeah, that's what we did this last time. We had a wonderful couple because we were heading to the Bahamas, where we had to go back to Texas to visit family, and we had a couple watch our boat while we were gone, and then they had that big blow, which I think you said that blow, the previous blow to this last blow, was the wind speed was roughly the same, just didn't last as long.
Yeah, like the one like
2 weeks ago.
Right. Yeah, I mean that one I was definitely, I don't have any wind instruments on here, but when the squalls rolled in on top of it, it was definitely in the 40 knot range for a little bit.
That's wild.
But I think sustained it was probably 35. So it was definitely a gale for sure.
Yeah.
And it built up, I think, 18-foot seas out there,
Yeah.
which I was like, I'm so glad I decided to come back in, because it was 50-50. I was kind of out there, and I was about 100 or so, 150 miles northeast of the Abacos. And I was kind of like, well, if I just run northeast for the next couple of days, I can get plenty of distance so I can just run with the gale back. But my big thinking was, I'm going to cover a huge amount of distance, and the seas are going to stick around for so long that it's going to close out the inlet, because that's the only problem I have with this place is the inlet closes out.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost a majority of inlets in Florida. I mean, really, aside from like Cape Canaveral on the East Coast, which there's no current that runs through.
Yeah, because of the locks, right?
Port
Right.
Canaveral Inlet. But all the inlets that you can get into on a sailboat,
They rip.
Oh man, you got to time it exactly right. And we lived in St. Augustine, and my wife was a park ranger at Anastasia State Park, and you have, there's a lot of boats that they'll cut the corner and come in before the sea buoy, and there's a bunch of sand shoals right there.
It would be so sad. I'd be on like turtle patrol and just see this boat hit the bank, and then it's a whole thing. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So yeah, you gotta be careful.
Well, and I wonder if there were more inlets along the coast from basically, say, Canaveral down, if that would do anything to like decrease the flow, because obviously there's a huge amount of water pushing out of what we got here. We got Sebastian Inlet.
Don't go through Sebastian Inlet.
No, well, you can't.
Yeah, you
I mean,
can't.
there's a bridge.
Like,
yeah.
You're not going to make it a sailboat no matter how the conditions are.
It ain't happening.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've seen a few videos where people go in and out of the St. Lucie Inlet and they rub the bottom.
Yeah.
And on the chart on Navionics, I mean, it doesn't show you anything really.
Right.
So
it looks good at St. Lucie, but I've never been in and out of there. But I've definitely heard it. There's a lot of showering.
yeah.
Shoaling.
And that's what I like about this one. At least I know it's deep. I come in with my sails up so that if something happens to the engine or whatever, at least I have. I mean, it's narrow, but at least I have a little wiggle room. I could do something. I had the last trip where we went from here up to St. John's Island up near Charleston. They were going to leave a few days before that gale, and their engine overheated as they were leaving. Right outside of the jetty, like right at the end. And they anchored, I think, between the red buoy and the jetty, replaced the impeller, but then they noticed other problems with the boat, so they ended up coming back in. But that's like my nightmare. It happens right there, and you're like, what am I going to do? Oh,
that happened to us.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
On
When we
our
were
last boat.
going into Panama on Bocas del Toro. And
sailed 1,000 miles all the way there.
Shout out to Paul Trammell.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Yes. Oh, okay. You did tell me. But please, do tell again for our listeners.
Yeah, so, going down, so we left Great Inagua in the Bahamas and sailed through the Windward Passage in between Haiti and Cuba. And, and then we were sailing after we got past the wind shadow of Haiti. We were sailing at a good clip the whole way down.
Yeah.
But as you get further and further down, the wind goes more on your stern. And the last 24 hours, I think we had to motor, which is very typical because there's a large wind blanket that sits over Panama, and that's what makes Bocas del Toro a great surf spot because you have the winds coming. Basically, there's a cape effect that goes over Colombia on the Caribbean side and just blows like hell sometimes down towards Panama. So you get big waves, but then that wind blanket, is nice because there's no wind.
Right.
And
so nice, lovely waves.
Yeah. And so anyway, we are probably motored for 24 hours, but we had plenty of fuel.
We were so over already. We don't like to motor, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, if there's no wind.
Hey, I'm in that exact same boat. I hate turning on the engine. I don't want to do it. The game plan for this next trip is just to not have to motor, and there's going to be 24-hour period of 5-knot winds. So I've got a game plan.
What if you stay in the Gulf Stream,
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll see. That was what my earlier podcast was. Yeah. But sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, so anyway, we're coming up. We're a mile from the mouth of the Bocas Channel.
We see it. It's right there. And we're like, woo, awesome. We're almost there. And then the engine cuts off.
Yeah. And it just, so what was the symptom? It just died straight away?
And I had no idea. I was like, I thought we ran out of fuel. So I'm calling our friends.
No revving of the engine or anything? It just...
No, it just went... And I was like, what? So we didn't really know what the conditions were, the local conditions with how much current runs into the channel, but it from Navionics said there was an incoming tide.
Yeah,
and so I'm like, there's absolutely no wind, and I'm like, well, we're going into the channel. I don't know what reefs lie about because this is. I don't know how well this area is charted.
Where are the hazards?
We're calling on 16. We've got two friends that are there, like we said earlier, Paul Trammell, and then our friends Amy and MJ on Motherlode Sailing. We had gone together. We had left Great Inagua together, and so they had gotten there 6 hours before us, so they're checking in with customs, and they're at the airport.
Right.
They're right there talking with people, and we, on the Garmin, sent a message to them and to Paul, and we're like, we're having an issue, and we're approaching the inlet. Yeah. And so they message us, and they're like, we are in the office with immigration right now.
Yeah.
And then Paul texts back, and I can't remember exactly what he said, but
I'll be right there.
It was essentially
I can kind of imagine Paul grabbing his surfboard and his spear gun and being like, I'm gonna get him. Paddling out, spearing the bowsprit, and then paddling you back in. Shout out to Paul.
I mean, because it was
cheers to Paul.
So many minutes later, we look on the horizon, and Paul calls in with his dinghy, I think a Stingray, and he's standing on, his hair's blowing in the wind. There's a rainbow behind him. I'm like
Aquaman.
Yeah.
And so he hops aboard.
He actually got fuel from another couple that was there. They had given us like a 5-gallon jerry can.
Yeah.
I was like, well, that's fine. Well, I poured in, and it's like still not working.
Right.
Come to find out, we still had like plenty of fuel left.
So it's turning over, it just won't fire.
Right. And so we just sailed in, like around the corner. The wind, because into that channel, the wind's kind of getting like the lack thereof wind, but it's getting funneled in.
Yeah.
So we just use that little bit of wind to sail around the corner and anchor. And then the next day, I ended up found out it was like the lift pump had died.
Oh.
So,
yeah. I've
But it
had
was
those
still-
issues.
Yeah, it was still so good to have it was the first time we had gone through there, so having somebody on there that knew the local knowledge.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
All right, stay away from that section right here, or go over here. That was good.
Yeah, we went into
Comforting.
Bastimentos, which is, if you're coming in, it's on the port side of the channel. And so we just sailed right in and anchored there, and it's nice, calm anchorage. But I still had to diagnose because the next day we had to check into the country.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
didn't want to come out to us at Bastimentos. We had to go near Bocastown. So luckily, I was like, the lift pump had just died. And that was the last spare part that I had bought. I was like, I probably need another one of these. It's the last. I was like, let's go to Ace Hardware or wherever you buy buy a lift pump. So,
Yeah.
But
Those little things. Mine failed on me. It would have been. I don't know exactly. No, I started having trouble with it when I was sailing up to Cape Cod last year. But then I tightened all the hose clamps because I thought it was just air getting in the fuel lines.
yeah.
And then that seemed to work. But then when I was coming back down in November and December, then it crapped out. And it come to find out, there's that little arm that goes into the engine that sits on the little oval thing, and that's what pumps it.
yeah.
That arm could wiggle in every direction like a half an
man.
inch, so it was just worked. And thankfully, just replaced that, and it so far so good. I've only put 6 hours on the engine since then, but hopefully on my way out of here it works just fine.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
the most dangerous part of living on the sailboat is land. So
Yeah.
I know. Well, I talk about that a lot.
or other boats
Right,
Yeah, or other
today.
boats.
we've been hit a couple times.
Yeah, that wasn't our first time.
That scares me about, that's where I'm more willing to fork over the dough to sit in a marina than be out there. And I do like every once in a while going and anchoring somewhere. It's nice because you're kind of your own little island out there. There's a lot of privacy, and I don't know, there's something nice about it. But yeah, especially this inlet. I mean, it's just riddled with boats that definitely look like, and there's always a couple of boats that are washed up on the beach.
Yeah.
So proof's in the pudding right there.
Yeah.
And it's a tough issue to talk about because there's so much going on in Florida right now with anchoring rights.
Yeah.
And so the situation that happened with us, it's only going to hurt cruisers.
Yeah.
And that those boats in that situation are only hurting the people who are coming down from up north and want to anchor for free, which is a right that we have, is to anchor for free in waterways. But a lot of areas are creating restrictions.
Yeah.
But it's also coupled with if you're going to create this restriction here, you need to provide a mooring ball or a safe area alternative that's not going to require you to go onto a dock and cost you
thousands.
an arm and a
Yeah,
leg.
it's expensive.
because not everybody is when you're just cruising through an area, you're just looking to do a stop off point, and a lot of marinas are booked up during the high season. So
when it's tricky because sometimes you arrive in a place and you don't know how long you're going to be there. It's
Right.
weather dependent, right? So
you go down to West Palm or Fort Pierce, and you're just looking to spend a couple of days. And if that area is restricted, then like where do you go?
Yeah. No, I hear you on that. I mean, it's one of those where, unfortunately, it seems like there are people that like abuse that, and then you've got this rotting hulk out there that is a threat.
Right.
And all of a sudden, every time the winds pick up or a squall rolls in, then all of a sudden it's bouncing off everybody's boats, and it's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? But at the same time, yeah, I mean, it's kind of the right to be able to anchor, unless because where is it that it's south of here where they're
West Palm.
Is it West Palm where it's like 2 days or something you get?
Well, that's probably Miami. But, like, we were in West Palm a couple weeks ago before we went back to Texas, and we got fuel from
Pickled Rick.
Pickled Rick. So it's Pickled Rick, and his tug is Morty.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend if you're ever in the West Palm area, it's a fuel barge. Go get fuel from them. They have, I according to, the internet, they have some of the cheaper fuel that you can, get in West Palm. But great group of guys that work over there also.
Yeah.
But we were getting fuel from them, and FWC stopped by and handed us a pamphlet saying that they're going to start enforcing a 30-day anchoring restriction. If you want to anchor for more than 30 days, you have to apply for a permit. And they're going to be checking anchors and moorings and whatnot. But there's I don't know why they said moorings, because I don't know besides, I think there's one mooring field in West Palm, but it's part of a marina.
Right,
There's there's no, city mooring.
Yeah.
There.
Well, isn't there, I think, on the other side of the inlet, on the south side of that isthmus of land, if that's the right word, that marina, I think it's got mooring buoys out there. And then there's a shallow bit where a bunch of boats are anchored. I could be wrong on that one. I don't know.
So there used to be private mooring balls in West Palm, and I'm not an expert on any of this. I just from being down there a couple of times, and when we were going to go back to Texas, we were trying to look for mooring balls and then not really finding anything down there. I think just north of Peanut Island, there's a marina that has mooring balls.
Well, there's Riviera Beach Marina, which is a city one, and I think just north of them there might be. Back when I was there, that was the first marina this boat ever sat at. I think there's either moorings or a lot of people were anchored up there.
Yeah.
But that
create their own moorings or something.
Right.
Well, and that's what FWC said, that they were going to be diving on them to make sure that they were legal moorings.
Well, that's
not homemade.
And that's kind of therein lies the rub with the moorings. Is a good mooring needs to be constantly maintained, and that takes divers and boats and all that sort of stuff. It's expensive. When I was living in the BVI, Sunchaser Scuba maintained the mooring field, which I think we had 80 or 90 mooring buoys out there. Constant maintenance, and they took a lot of pride in it, because some of them were hurricane moorings as well, so we'd put our boats on them when it really got bad.
Yeah.
But it was always the lines weren't tied correctly on the boat. That's what failed. Our mooring buoys never did. But I saw how much work it took, and I mean, geez, to do that at a state level or whatever. Yeah, could only imagine the enormity of the invoices. Ugh.
Yeah.
They go on, but so 30 days. That's not. I don't know. I guess in my experience, 30 days seems pretty reasonable to be able to sit somewhere. But I know out in California, it was 72 hours or something.
Oh, wow.
San Francisco.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot.
That was where
that's a little.
They had a huge problem out there. I think right off of Sausalito or something. There's some bay. There was a little YouTube documentary made about it. And people out there were living out on these boats for years and years and years. And then, they've changed it, and now they're, as soon as these people are off of their boat, they go and grab them, just crush them, which I don't really agree with that per se. But Yeah, I don't know. I can see it from both sides.
Yeah.
For sure. But I don't know. How do you feel after having a boat? I mean, if obviously that boat doesn't sound like it was like a total derelict boat.
Right, it had owners, and they were there. They were like in the area, but they just weren't on the boat.
Right.
I think that, I mean, it goes so many different ways. Without like, you think one way, and then you're hurting something else that you take pride in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really touchy subject, but the whole issue with like pollution coming from like derelict boats, I think is very like overblown, because there's more pollution just streaming off of.
Oh, every time it rains, man.
Yeah. Like that exponentially more.
Yeah.
So the, I don't know. It's a tough subject to.
Yeah.
It is. Well, I think, I mean, for me, it really is the threat that boats that have just been left out there. Yeah. And nobody's been on them for such a long time.
Yeah. Right.
Because fiberglass,
and
plastic.
It really does. Like, you're sitting there, you're anchored somewhere, and the next thing you hear in the middle of the night is a boat rubbing up against you. Then all of a sudden, and it's like, well, nobody even knows who that boat is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that was the bravest thing I think we've done on any sailboat that we've been on, is being anchored by
derelict
vessels. Right there during that last blow. I mean, it was blowing like 35 plus, and
that's why
we're just like, just keeping an eye out.
Well, and that's why it was so funny that it didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen then.
A couple days ago, and then today.
Right?
Today was the day,
Yeah, and we had.
I'm glad it was today versus then, and it was during the daylight hours. So, there's things we could work with that. I'll take it if it's gonna happen.
We had a couple next to us where they drug at night, and we were able to get, we all got in touch with each other and coordinated, what we were going to do if it got any closer. So that was like great to have, that contact in between us. But when there's nobody on another vessel and you're in a, precarious situation.
Oh, it's
just like, what do you do?
Oh,
you call the Coast Guard, and then there's, with Coast Guard FWC, there's liability issues.
Well, nobody wants. Yeah, you don't want to even touch the boat, because the minute you touch the boat, then you've got a little responsibility. In the BVI, we would, it was almost clockwork. New Year's Eve, Christmas, the Christmas winds would come in. Mooring field is packed. There's anchored boats everywhere. The North Sound is just absolutely jamming. Mm-hmm. And the winds just are howling day and night, 25 knots. And inevitably, every year, 4 or 5 boats would break free, and we'd have to go out and grab them. And so we're in this little rescue boat, and sometimes you get on the boat and get into it and fire up the engine. Sometimes we just had to do, right alongside and tow and try and get the boat to a place where we could either just manually drop the anchor and pay out as much chain. Oh man, there were a few times where it was super sketchy. We're upwind of some, 250-foot mega yacht. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows what's going on. There's no Coast Guard there. They have Visar, but they're all the way down on Tortola.
Yeah.
They used to call me if there was issues. I remember one boat that was headed to St. Martin. They were going to lose their mast. They turned back. And I get a call at like midnight, and they're like, "Dude, Jerome, there's a boat trying to come back. Do you think you could like go out there and lead them in?" And that was one of the scariest, sketchiest rescues I think I've ever done.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a little 15-foot Boston whaler, and I went outside of the reef, and there's like 10-foot waves.
Though, right?
Yeah, but definitely flippable for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my god! But we got them in, so that was pretty cool. Yeah. But it is. And
we've drugged before. I think you live on a boat long enough, you anchor long enough, you're going to drag.
It's going to happen. Yeah.
Just hopefully you drag and you can see where your boat is,
Sparrow broke free. I was anchored off the island of Dominica, and I was on the beach, and I'm looking out there. And west sails have a tendency to go back and forth with the bow, and eventually it just popped it free and just starts, drifting sideways down. And I was like, But I was right there, so I got the kayak and I got out to it. But I'm thinking to myself, well, what if I was on the other side of the island?
Yeah.
The kayak?
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
had I was just borrowing a kayak from the water sports center. And I'm out there, I chase it all down. Now I always use 2 anchors.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna be
Really,
somewhere,
they don't get twisted up or anything.
I do them in a series. So I have 1 anchor and then about 20 feet of Dyneema attached to the next anchor, and then it's chained to the boat. And so that first one holds that second one, and I haven't had, knock on wood, any trouble ever since. I don't anchor all that much. I mean, if you notice, I didn't even have my windlass. It's stowed up forward here.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I definitely will be soon, though. I keep dreaming more and more about the Bahamas.
Yeah. We love the Bahamas.
It's a good place. It's where we're going.
I've never been. I
Hopefully.
mean, outside of doing a couple of pickups of boats in Nassau and then a delivery in a power boat where we went and hit like Eleuthera up to Nassau and stopped in a few places. Never really been there to explore. I've never been to the Berries, never been to the Abacos. I think subconsciously I've been like pocketing that adventure
Yeah.
because it's so
Because
accessible.
it's easy
Totally.
to get to.
Yeah.
You
We're
just gotta
l-
worry about the Gulf Stream. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky that it's right there
Yeah.
from
Right
Florida.
there,
They're our
yeah.
neighbors.
I know. I go around them all the time. Last year, I think I did 4 trips where I ended up, cutting around the Abacos and then coming back here. But never stopping anywhere. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Bring it on. I'm ready. Although I do think it would be a whole lot more fun to explore that with a catamaran. I hate to say it. As a devotee.
I'm gone. I'm out of here.
Oh no! But I mean, think about
No,
it.
yeah, definitely.
It's so
yeah,
funny.
yeah,
we
definitely is.
have friends on catamaran. Shout out to Motherlode Crew, and they were the ones on the it was a Bavaria, right?
Yeah, 52-foot Bavaria. I
They
think.
got
Ooh.
5 boys though, so they have a very
They had a
excellent
good reason to get a
get on
catamaran.
a
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But
You
we
get
like
that whole.
They're
we get
loving
this-
it now,
yeah, and it's really cool, and it's cool to see them on the boat. But yeah,
But-
especially in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
oh,
That's the
man.
thing. Yeah.
A lot of
Dreamy.
shallow water. But also our first boat, we had a 5-foot draft, and with the deeper the draft you have, obviously the less places you're going to go on. I think the Bahamas is the world's largest shallow bank.
I don't doubt that for
yeah.
1 second. Yeah.
But it's also like canyons. So you go from like Eleuthera, and you go a mile offshore from
That's
Eleuthera, and
10,000
yeah,
feet deep.
It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Drops.
But there's a lot of really shallow spots. So we had a 5-foot draft, and I heard people saying, "Oh, you just gotta 5-foot draft. You kind of gotta watch out where you go." But then we went to the Exumas, and I don't think I saw anything less than 12 feet. And so the closer you get to Georgetown, it kind of shallows up on the Exuma bank. But and now we're on a boat that has a 6-8 foot draft,
Yeah.
and so that's a little bit you gotta watch out. But it's also there's so many spots. You're just not getting 50 feet closer.
Right, right.
And so it's really not that much of an issue.
12 feet though. That's when I'm already like puckered up. Like, oh
Yeah.
Lord, 12 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, along with no wind instruments, I don't have a depth sounder on the boat, so I just stay in the middle, and I
Throwing
have
a plumb bob over the
I
side.
have done soundings. I use a wrench and a piece of line, and I only had to do that a couple times on the ICW when I was trying to get where I had to anchor on my way up to like Belhaven.
Yeah.
To get hauled out, where I'd anchor, and I was like, because you drop the anchor and immediately it goes slack, and you can't see anything because the water's super brown. And I'm kind of like, I wonder exactly how deep. And so I'll go around the thing and measure it. Like 8 feet, yeah, we should be good there.
Well, that's the great thing about the Bahamas.
You
Is
can
it's
see
so
it
clear.
all, yeah.
It's so clear that it's deceiving how deep the water is. Because you'll look down,
That's a
you're
good way of putting
like,
it.
how are we not aground right now? And I
Yeah,
can see
yeah,
the bottom
right.
so clearly. We were the clearest spot I think we've ever been into was in the Exumas.
Yeah.
We were anchored outside of Big Major's Staniel
Staniel
Key
Key.
area.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, at the time we went, this is before this is 3 years ago, there was like 50 or 100 boats. I mean, so many boats anchored around us. And we anchored in a spot, and, there's a partial full moon out, and at nighttime, we look down, we're like, oh, this water's so clear, and at nighttime, we could see a starfish, and we're anchored in like 12 feet of water.
Yes,
10 to
and
12 feet of water. You can see
cushion sea stars just hanging out with the light of the moon.
Right,
it
lights
was absolutely
required.
amazing. But that's also what the Exumas is known for. Some of the clearest water in the world.
Yeah.
They have great beaches. So but like the Bahamas, like all the what are they called? They're not districts. Providences. So like the Abacos, the Province, Eleuthera, they're all like different in their own right, and they all have like their own glory to it and flair. So.
Yeah, it's kind of neat how everybody just thinks of it as the Bahamas, but they are all very, very different.
Right,
for sure.
right.
I mean, you get that, I guess, in a similar way in the British Virgin Islands, because you've got 5-6 main islands that people live on, and Anegada is way different than Virgin Gorda, and Tortola is way different than all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So you do kind of get that, but the Bahamas, like, definitely just the land area alone, it's huge. It's absolutely huge.
Yeah, and we're more like, we'd like to go further south in the Bahamas, get a little bit more remote. And
you do the Turks and Caicos and stuff?
No, we haven't done
that
yet.
No.
I've only pulled in once, and man, oh man, I'll tell you one thing: there are a lot of whales around there. We saw them as we were pulling in, because I think it's whichever one is the main island. Maybe it is Turks and Caicos, or Turks, whatever. It's got like a barrier, almost. It kind of looks like an atoll on the chart, and so it just drops down. And man, there were whales all over the place outside of there.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
She's seen whales before. I haven't though.
Not
on the boat.
Right.
Yeah.
We haven't seen any on the boat. See a lot of dolphins, but not.
That's a more sad story because the whale was dying, and
Oh,
that's when I was a
no.
park
That's
ranger.
not what I was thinking of at all.
Oh,
Was that on the beach?
yeah, it was a pygmy sperm whale who had beached itself. It was dying, and so we had to go out there and
Cut it
deal
all
with
open
that.
and
we didn't
harvest
do that
all
part.
the oil.
Yes, actually, it was interesting because so we get to the scene. And we have like biologists. We call biologists from like FWC that came out, and when they did, they basically like euthanize it.
Yeah,
Because they know what's going on.
Right.
But when that happened, there was this huge puddle of like black that came out from the whale, and we were all like, "Is that normal?" And she was like, "Yep." So their primary food source is squid. So that was
it's all the ink.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so then that was my job. I walked around to the crowd that had built up because there's a beached whale.
Yeah,
and try and tell people
a curiosity,
like,
for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, that was the only time I seen like a whale in the wild.
I would like to redact my statement.
Redaction.
I meant to say
Sustained.
a whale shark. That's a whale shark.
Oh, you seen a whale shark?
Yeah, and he's
Really?
like mujeres.
Whoa.
That was sick.
God, that's something. So what was the circumstance there? Were you sailing, motoring, what?
No, that one, that's when we were still, had our full-time jobs, and I had some time. I was like, all right, well, if you don't use it, you lose it. Some days off, and Brendan was at work.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I guess I'm going to go to Mexico by myself and swim with whale sharks. It was fun.
Nice. Oh my gosh, where do you go to do that?
Isla Mujeres is where I went. I know there's other places, but
Is that on the Pacific side?
Atlantic.
It's on the Atlantic side.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
Cancun, Cozumel.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
It's like
okay.
it's a little island, like right just north of Cancun.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a cool spot. It's easy to travel to.
Or Cozumel. Yeah, north of Cozumel.
Yeah.
Cozumel's the other island.
Is that all on the Yucatan Peninsula?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And in fact, so when I went there by myself, and that was 2018, 19, and I had a great time. It's easy to travel there, like pretty chill, especially as a
Pre-COVID, the glory days.
Glory days.
I'm old enough to know
yes.
what that was like.
No, me too. Me too.
But when we were coming back up from Panama, because I had been to Isla Mujeres, I'm like, all right, that's a cool spot. Like, let's stop off there. We were like, all right, that actually kind of works out perfectly to stop in Isla Mujeres from Panama.
Yeah, because you got to go. I was looking at it the other day, kind of where Panama is, because it's deceptive if you just think of like the Gulf and where some of these things are. And it's like tucked in there. You got to like go out and then up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's a big passage. And you guys have done that twice now, going down
And then back.
and then going back up.
Well, so down once and then back once. So we're looking to go back down.
Yeah.
But like through the Windward Passage, which is the easiest way to get down there, because going on the west side of Cuba is a lot harder because you're beating against like the prevailing winds and a current.
Right,
You
right.
know, so when we left back from now you can go north and south through the Windward Passage. It's just a lot harder to go north through the Windward Passage because the Windward Passage, the wind generally funnels down through it southward.
Yeah,
And you got a north wind that comes through there. But so you generally have to like run up the Colombian coastline a ways before you shoot north, because there's also that slight like a half a knot current that
it's sort of sweeping up. Right. Well, I mean, I might be like crossing the streams a little, but there's a guy who bought a West Sail down in Guatemala, and he needs to get it back to Texas. How would you do that?
Probably wouldn't be like that hard, because you could hop up to like Belize, and then from Belize, that's a big like route to go from like Mexico down to Belize. I mean, they're border countries, but and then once you get, because also you have the Yucatan current starts pulling you north.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Like not that far from like Belize. You just start. I mean,
But you'd have to like beat into the prevailing easterlies until you get east of the Yucatan, so that you go north, right?
Yeah, but I don't really know like how much you would have to go east though, because the winds, they do start like turning
around,
turning north,
right.
Towards that point.
Well, and when we went, it was threading the needle through like the Christmas winds.
Yeah, it was. We
at
left
the
in
time of
December.
year.
Which was like
Brutal, dude.
perfect time.
You look at windy at Christmas, and it's like a blanket of orange,
Yeah.
like 20, 25 knots, and the seas build up because it's like that all the way pretty much from Africa,
Right.
and so it's
right.
just building. Like
Yeah.
people don't realize sometimes what they're getting into when they charter down in the Caribbean for Christmas. They're like, "Oh, it'll be fun." It's like, hold on,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's gonna get pretty
Rowdy.
intense. Yeah, no, for sure. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was, we had gone back to the States, bought the new boat, and went back down there, but there was what's that?
No,
But there was a nationwide protest in Panama, and everything was like shut down, so we got delayed like a month and a half, 2 months there. We also had bought Starlink, so we're like waiting on that,
The antenna.
Yeah, and so by the time everything had opened up and we got our cruise, we had gotten our Zarpe.
What's
It's like
that?
Christmas.
Is that like a permit?
It's the stamp that says, okay, you did leave here and you're allowed to go off.
right.
And Mexico requires that.
Yeah.
So we knew at that point we wanted to stop in Mexico. So we're making a point to get the Zarpe, but it took some time.
Yeah, we'll at least have the option, to like stop off somewhere else, and they're like, "Well, where are you coming from?" We're like,
Well, because
At least we have
you don't
proof,
check out
yeah.
from the U.S. You're sort of like, eh.
Right.
The Coast Guard came and talked to me when I was coming in here, and this was the first time I have ever had an encounter with the Coast Guard. And I was like, oh, here we go. We're getting boarded. Thankfully, when I first saw them talking to another boat, It's like just a few miles outside the inlet. I was like, oh shoot, throwable life ring. Because as soon as I get out of our waters, I just take that thing down. Because obviously I have no one to throw it to. Right?
I honestly was like,
But I've seen people that get fined for it, and I don't want to give them any excuse to pull me over anyway. But so so I do all that, and then they come around and they pull right up next to the boat, and I'm just motoring along, but I got my mainsail up, and they were just asking a few questions, but they were like, so where you come from? And I was like, I left here, but I just went out, for the last week, and I was sailing, and I came through the Bahamas to come back here. And they're like, well, did you check in? Are you checking it? I was like, no, I didn't stop anywhere. I just, I was just, testing the boat out, make sure all the stuff, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, are you going to clear customs coming in? And I was like, no, like I didn't stop anywhere. And he kind of looked at me, and then I saw his brain work, and then he was like, okay, well, have a good day.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, sweet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought for sure it was going to be like an hour-long thing, because I've seen plenty of videos where they board you, and they go through all the stuff, and they want to see the flares. And thankfully, I've got all that. The only thing that's out of date is my life raft, but you don't have to have one of those, I don't believe. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really expensive and a pain to get that recertified.
Oh, I don't even think they would. This one, because it's a valise, like in the soft bag. Last time I had one for the trip around the world was like a 6-person, fully offshore ready, like provision, all that stuff was in it.
Oh, you're gonna be living in style if you ever have to go into that thing.
Yes, thanks Stephen Callahan, who wrote that book Adrift, who spent like 72 days in his life raft. He talks about that. He was like, he said, man, a 4-person life raft, I would have never even been able to like lay down in.
Yeah.
So he got this 6-person, which, lucky for him because he was in it for so long. But this one's just a little one. But anytime I've ever inquired about getting them repacked, they're like, is it a soft one? And I'm like, yeah. Is it stored on deck? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, nah, we're not going to do it. So which kind of sucks because they're really expensive. But I do understand that because there have been plenty of times, especially in gales. So I moved that one back to the cockpit. And when big waves come and fill the cockpit, like that thing is submerged for minutes at a time, over and over again. So I'm sure it would work, but I'm sure repacking it would be just they'd look at it and be like, nope. So, all part of it,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
It's part of the wonderful
How
world.
big
of
do the
sailing.
waves have to be to come into your cockpit? Do you have kind of like dialed that in?
It's not quite the size of them.
Yeah.
If I have a breaking 6-footer and it's breaking because of
the
like the
motion
Gulf
of the
Stream,
ocean,
it'll just hop right on. I could show you some clips. The last gale I went through I was crossing the Gulf Stream, and the waves were probably only in the 10 to 12 foot range.
but closer together.
Oh man, yeah, they were, and we got pooped to the point where the wind vane never, the wooden paddle never broke, but that it was gone. It was engulfed in white water as it slammed into the boat and stuff. But
Oh man.
it's rare, very rare. I mean,
Right.
those times are few and far between, thankfully. But it just, West sails are known as wet boats.
Really?
And usually that stern will pop up and rise above it, but if you're in those sort of waves that are breaking because the current is against the wind, then
Is
all
it
bets are
the
off.
bow is just really buoyant and the stern's not as, or
I think it's just the force, because when you're out there in the open ocean and you get swell and it's really windy, even then typically you'll get a breaker at the very top of the wave, but it typically fizzles out and then falls behind the wave. But when you have that current that's going against it really fast, that's when you get a breaker that almost looks like it's breaking on a beach somewhere. And that force, because once it starts rolling and it's, in that 10, 12 foot range, I mean, that thing is trucking and it just smashes into the boat so hard. And it's like, but again, it does that double ender likes to slice through it. But every once in a while, it's just too big, so it just comes in. But I've had to, with the washboards, I have 2 of them, I've had to tape that middle section to sort of abate the amount of water that's spraying through it when the wave actually literally fills the cockpit and then smashes up against that whole companionway area.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's like a pressure washer in here, like salt water.
Thrown in the washing machine.
Yeah. Not fun. Not fun at all.
That's with like our boat, the Norseman 447. They weren't designed with the sugar scoop. That was the previous owner that put the sugar scoop on the stern.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be in anything like too terrible with a sugar scoop.
Yeah,
I
because
just
the wave
feel
will
like
grab it.
Yeah, it's just a cup sitting there waiting
And
to
just
grab water.
Push.
And but also we're not gonna do any high latitude stuff in the boat, at least for now. We would definitely have to insulate the boat a lot better than it currently is, but
To say the least.
Just get a couple of turtleneck sweaters.
yeah,
Fine.
Puffy jackets.
yeah, puffy jackets.
Yeah, right.
But the
Those things are dope.
oh
I
yeah,
They
will
really
abide by those. I've got both. I've got a bunch of sweaters that my mom made me.
Aw, that's so sweet.
Like full on, been around the world. They got oil stains on them. But then that puff jacket, if I really want to stay warm,
yeah.
throw that sucker on.
Yeah.
Underneath your foul weather gear.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, I got one, and I take it anytime I think it's going to be cold wherever we're going.
And stuff it with marshmallows.
Yeah, stuff it with marshmallows, and you can open up that hole and you just pick a marshmallow out when you get hungry. But yeah, I think I got that. We were out in San Francisco for her birthday. We spent like 2 days in San Francisco and then went up to the Redwoods.
Oh, nice.
And we stopped at a thrift store and I got a puffy jacket out of it, and I've had it ever since. It's like
that's where you got that at.
Yeah,
Dude, they are legit. They're their game changer. I mean, I have tons of thermals. That's the other thing with them is that even if they do get hit with salt water, usually they're made out of a good enough material where it doesn't saturate it or anything, and you can just wipe it off.
Yeah.
But all the thermals and stuff, I used to just have to, if I got splash or a wave or anything, it's creeping down underneath the foul weather gear.
Right.
It's just I got to peel that one off. But back in the day, I probably had 12 sets of thermals. Because I don't have a heater on the boat either, so it's just like
type of foul weather gear do you have?
I've got Musto offshore stuff.
Did you swear by it?
I used to, but when I left, I had a brand new jacket, and it started delaminating before I even got to the Cape of Good Hope. But side note, when I got back, they replaced it for free. So.
Oh, that's good.
Nice.
It would have been nice to have it going around Cape Horn, but like all the pictures and videos I took, I'm wearing my dad's like 35-year-old Atlantis yellow light. It's just like this classic old thing. But I don't know. At that point, I'd been out at sea for so long, like I was just so used to being wet and damp and moldy and gross.
Seasoned.
Very seasoned.
Yeah.
Very seasoned. I can't even imagine. I don't think the boat smelled that bad. I don't know, because you never really know. But I took a half-gallon shower, so to speak, south of New Zealand, and I did not do that again until I was north of the Falklands. So.
Oh yeah.
Were you just like rinsing off in the rain and spray?
Not in the southern. Oh, it was so
No?
cold down there.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't. I didn't peel any of the layers off. I think I probably switched my boxers maybe a couple of times in 90 days, but
Nice.
I was in the fight. My
You're
life.
also by
impressed,
yourself.
yeah.
Yeah, you're also by
Yeah,
yourself.
exactly. The dating scene in the Southern Ocean it's pretty boring at that point. So, where are you guys headed now? It's a game plan.
So we want to head out and get back down to Panama and go through the canal this time.
Whoa, nice.
Yeah, we would really like to hit up the Pacific. That's kind of the goal. Of course, plans always change, but I think that with the experience that we've had, and we were so close, and the only reason we came back is for the new boat. So now that we got her,
Yeah.
we're ready.
I'm ready for the
I mean,
adventure.
she's set up to do it all. So, we want to get through the canal, early next year.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna get down to the San Blas, hang out there for a little while, maybe do some land traveling down in South America, see the Andes and the Amazon.
Nice.
Would be really nice. We are gonna have to come back home and pick some work up to sustain this lifestyle.
As you do.
Yeah.
As you do. Yeah.
And but then, next year, February-ish, I think is the time, just early time to start crossing. And we want to do the Galapagos. And stop in the Galapagos for a month or so. And then from there, make our way to the Marquesas. I definitely want to, hop down to Easter Island.
Ooh, that's a haul.
Yeah.
But worth it. I mean,
yeah, and that's like it's not like a big goal of mine to like go there on my bucket list or anything. I just think it would be awesome to go there. Now I know people
think it is.
Could you imagine though? Like one of my favorite things is sighting islands when they like rise out of the horizon. To see those statues rise with the my god, that would be so cool.
And we all, I also want to go to the Pitcairn Island chain, and I think that would be amazing. But the guy we bought our first boat from stopped there, but I don't think Greg was even able to get off the boat.
Well,
because the anchorages are just
so rolling. You got the Southern
rolling.
Ocean swell coming
right,
up, and that Southwest.
And it's kind of the same with Easter Island. It's you might.
Tricky.
I mean, I think a lot of people eventually get off, but you might have to stay there for a week or two before you're able to get into an anchorage where getting onto the beach is not going to totally wreck your dinghy.
Yeah. And you got to think about that. So what does that mean? Like you're sitting either at anchor in swell that's just driving you crazy,
right?
Or you go sail off and hope to come back on a better forecast.
Right.
That's what I feel like that's the option I would probably go to because
just keep circle the island.
Yeah, just go out and rip around because there's like I think Pitcairn would be cool. I'm more interested in Henderson Island, which is where the crew of the whale ship Essex they landed there. And there's all sorts. I mean, and this is just a barren like bird island,
right?
And I don't, it's kind of hard because countries own these places and they say you're not allowed to go to them, but they obviously don't have like a police officer posted there,
right? And Henderson Island is one of those spots.
Yeah, so in the Pitcairn group, there's Henderson Island and there's Ducie Island. Ducie Island's like a little atoll with a lagoon in it, and I don't think you could get into it, but you could. If it was calm enough, you could pull ashore there. Again, they're all labeled as like national parks or whatever, and so you're
Do
supposed
they
to
have like a monument on Henderson Island?
No, there's just a bunch of. Supposedly there's a cave that's if they left them there, there's still like skeletons in it and stuff from other shipwrecked people. There's I don't know all these little uninhabited islands. It'd be so cool to go.
Well, and that's like with us. Like I love the history behind the Bounty, not only with like what happened in there, but how they got there,
it's so crazy.
Coming out from the discovery of those islands not that long before, and how that all was all intertwined. And so I think it'd be cool to go there. Now if we can't get there, not all is lost. So
we have places like Tahiti.
Yeah, there's a couple other cool islands, I guess, over there in the Pacific. But
Vanuatu. Oh man, I watch. That was really interesting when Holly Martin, aka Wind Hippie, came on the show. I mean, geez, Louise, she peeled through the South Pacific for I think a couple years. Yeah. And I mean, plus all these other people that wrote books about it and stuff. But to be able to see some of it, I feel like just a crossing of the Pacific, if you really want to do it right, would be like 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And just keep going and going to the farthest reaches, like the Phoenix group and like you're saying, Easter Island or the Pitcairn group. I mean, man, oh man, they're so neat.
Yeah, you just have to, deal with hurricane season a lot, but then you hop south, go to New Zealand for a season, but then a lot of people hop down to New Zealand. They're like, oh, we'll just hop down to New Zealand for hurricane season. Next thing you know, they're there for a year. Because New Zealand's so amazing.
This is why we're chomping at the bit to get going, because there's so much to see.
Yeah.
There is. It's true. And it's right over that horizon. That's the beauty of owning a boat.
Right.
I mean, it comes with the pros and the cons, but that's definitely one of the big pros for sure.
But it's like, what do you do after the Pacific Islands and New Zealand, Indonesia? You got a ways to get to South Africa, but I've always been intrigued by South Africa also.
Well, and some of the islands along the way, I mean, they're few and far between, but like you've got the Christmas Island, and then you've got there's another little set of islands. I can't remember what they're called. They're east of like India and stuff, but they're out in the middle basically. And then, I mean, obviously...
Not talking about Diego Garcia.
No, that one's over on the eastern side, or the western side. Jeez, I can't remember this one. But, there's some neat places. Oh, the Seychelles. Oh, that'd be so... Or the Maldives.
Oh,
I mean...
Yeah.
Or, I mean, Madagascar, I think, would be sick. Just go see those trees.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, unbelievable. And then, I mean, you really talk about far-flung islands. You go down to the high latitudes like Southern Ocean, and you've got, Tristan da Cunha in the Atlantic. You've got, Kerguelen.
That's one of like the most remote habited islands in the world.
There's like 50 or maybe 200 people that live there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they only have one little break wall. And again, obviously that far south, they're at like 37 degrees south, I think. So they are getting the Southern Ocean weather.
Right.
So, your chances of actually being able to go ashore are next to nothing because they don't have a harbor. But if you wrap around the planet, it's just dotted with them. And there's one that in particular I've always wanted to stop, and that's Campbell Island, about, I don't know, 100 or so miles south of the South Island of New Zealand. But it's shaped like a perfect C and it has these two... They almost look like they were cut inlets so that you'd be protected from the westerly breeze and the westerly swell. And they go way in, like a mile or two.
Oh,
and I think there's like, some scientists or something down there. But this would be a place where if you were able to go and anchor there and go explore, I mean, you can walk up and like hang out with albatross and...
that's what gets me.
Walruses and all that stuff. Oh,
I'm the nature nerd, so that's where Brennan really enjoys the history, which I think is very interesting. Man, to see different
I want
species,
the animals.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's all. I mean, it's all there. Especially there's just something about these uninhabited islands where there's just nobody there. I got to see the snares, which are maybe like 30 or 40 miles south of Stewart Island, New Zealand. So deep down there. But these are just rocky. They're islands, but they're 400-foot rock cliff faces, and so it's birds and seals and kelp beds and stuff. And that was the closest I got to land until I got back to like flybys through the Caribbean. And I could have stayed there forever. It's just so cool. It looks like I feel like I'm in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, and it's also like get into these places under your own power. You know,
you battle. You have to battle to get there.
I've worked on a couple of ships and went to places in the world that would have been amazing to sail to, but like you're on a ship, you're kind of just like on for the ride, and you're on this massive, piece of steel that can handle a lot worse than our boats can. So it's nice to get to these spots like under your own power and your own like motivation.
Yeah, it feels better when you get there.
Right,
like, right. Oh yeah, we did that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it does. No, I 100% get it. Like it just you have to, like we said, you have to earn it. The journey is a huge part of it, especially for me. I mean, people always ask me, like, do you just go out there and then you come back? You don't stop anywhere or anything like that? And I'm like, well, that's what I really like to do. Is I I find more joy in just going out and being on an empty ocean and sailing the boat than I do, pulling in at these places. And I don't know if it's just that I lived in the Caribbean for a decade or what. I don't know exactly, because it is kind of odd. I will admit that. Because when I think about doing the Atlantic figure eight, where you kind of do a figure eight through the North and South Atlantic, obviously I'm using the islands as like waypoints because I want to sight them, but it doesn't mean I want to actually stop there.
I mean, what's the odds of you just being like, you know what, I'm just gonna pull in here?
Well, that's the nice part is, I've done like the nonstop stuff enough that I don't feel like I'm beholden to it, I guess, because I've always wanted to stop in St. Helena in the South Atlantic, Ascension Island. I'd like to just go to the Cape Verdes. I've sailed right through there a couple of times, and I'm kind of always like, man, it'd be nice to stop in here. But and maybe that's in the future. We'll see. But I don't know. There's something about just empty horizon for weeks on end, and then something emerges. And the fact that we're on vessels that we can just pull right up.
Totally. Cool. Well, and this kind of circles back to the story we were talking about earlier when we left Panama to go to Mexico. For me, the most exciting arrival we ever had was that stretch. We initially took off pushing our luck and had a bad weather window, so we actually ducked back in and actually was hanging out in an indigenous tribe there, the Nobe Bugle, for like a week, and they were super cool. But whenever we did take off, it was Christmas Eve, and it took us a week. By the time we got into Mexico, it was New Year's Eve, and I'll never forget, it was crazy. We dropped the hook at 11
It was like
p.m.
an hour later. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then all the fireworks around, and so like thinking about like,
this is the welcome ceremony I've been waiting for,
because we just got our asses handed to us by a friend. I mean, it was fine, but it was rough. And then,
caught a mahi.
We did catch a mahi
a couple hours before.
Ooh, nice.
Like the first, we're not avid fishermen, we're
lazy anglers.
Me
got
too.
the line,
little
hanging
hand
off,
line. Yeah.
And just nothing until 6 hours before we get to Mexico. We'd been sailing for over 7 days, and then it's like as soon as we got kind of into that Yucatan current.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they were feeding on. Yeah.
But that was the sickest arrival, I think, of all the places that we've gotten in. Because it was just it was on cue.
Yeah. I had an interesting one on a delivery one time. We were taking a boat from Antigua over to Turkey. And the day we pulled in finally to Turkey, we're cleaning the boat. And that afternoon, there was a total eclipse of the sun.
Oh, wow.
We're just scrubbing the decks, and all of a sudden it got dark, and we're all kind of what's going on? And then we realized, because we see people with their little shades, and they're looking up at it. And I mean, I don't know if on the Turkish flag it's supposed to be a crescent moon, or if it's an actual eclipse, but it's on their flag.
Whoa, cool.
And I was like, whoa. And then I do believe the prayer music sort of echoed through the town.
Yeah.
So it was just this. I was like, "Whoa, we are in
that's
a
a
different
moment.
world. This is so cool."
That's so cool.
Yeah, sailing provides some pretty interesting situations. So that's cool. Well, we're already well past an hour, but I did want to ask about the YouTube channel. How have you guys found documenting and doing all that sort of stuff as an experience?
Tricky. It's a balance. We had, done all those stories we were talking about before we really started making videos because we just wanted to have fun.
Yeah, she had a blog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On our last boat, and she got featured in a magazine.
Latitudes and Attitudes.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we had thought about it before, and it's difficult, right? You have to balance.
Yeah.
All right, am I going to try and film this day versus in some ways enjoy it or focus on the actual journey? And I think we had gone through so many experiences that I really wish that I could look back on visually instead of through words. And so we decided, all right, like, you know, I'm not trying to do anything crazy with it, but, you know, when we get old, we want to look back at the videos and have fun. Like, see the crazy stuff
it's
we did?
more for, like, I mean...
Like an archive.
Right, it's our journal, you know, and so...
But it's difficult.
It's difficult, and, you know, Chanel's doing almost all of the editing.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, it's really good. I mean...
Thanks.
Yeah, she's done a great job.
Too.
Yeah. Right.
Well, it is. I know it is a super big pain in the butt to do, you know, any sort of passage or anything. It's like the last thing I want to do is actually try and really put an effort into like, oh, let's change the angle here. Because also a lot of it's like a 10,
Mundane,
15, 20 second clip.
Yeah.
And then you've got to switch the angle or else it's so boring, that sort of stuff. It's definitely tricky, but no, I definitely see the point as far as like being able to look back, because I go through some of the old trips on my channel and it's like, oh yeah, cool. It's fun. It's fun to sit with other people and watch some of it when they're like, oh, you have a YouTube channel? And I'm like, oh yeah, check it out.
Totally. Well, and that's something that we found was really cool for our family and friends who aren't a part of this lifestyle.
They can follow.
And they can see it. I mean, like we said, I used to write, but it's just a different medium. And these days, I mean, a lot of people are visual oriented in certain ways, but for our friends and family to see it gave an extra component of like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
they have less basis than we have. So it's been a fun tool to be like, hey, this is why we're not at home all the time.
Yeah, and it does take a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know, it
Hours
takes a
and hours.
lot of time, like sitting behind a computer.
And
You know,
that's
we don't
not
have
what you
like
wanna
the
do, right?
best, you know, set like computer chair to sit at. So,
Yeah.
you know, you've got those like boat issues, you know, it's like you're not at home behind, you know, like or on an office desk. You're on a boat at, you know, at your chart table, but the chart table is not set up to sit at for 8-9 hours.
Oh, I could
you know?
never edit anything together. I mean, luckily the podcast is super easy to upload. I mean, I type in a couple of sentences or whatever, and I can do it. But even that, when it's rough out and kind of rolly and stuff, I'm like, ugh, I don't even want to do it.
Well,
Yeah.
you do great.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
it's amazing.
I appreciate that. I try. I mean, you know.
I think of Chanel sometime like we're on a race boat and she's the navigator down below, you know, just like typing and editing and just barfing in a bucket, you know, like.
No, that only happened one time, and that was indeed when we were leaving Panama.
Yeah.
How do you like, as far as, so you were writing, how was the blog pretty involved, like daily or?
Well, I did like less often, but longer like articles, and it was more like chapter style, and I want to get back into writing.
Yeah, I mean, well, it sounds like, you know, obviously the potential to do a book is right there. I mean,
Yeah.
look, if you already know Paul, he pumps out a book every year, just about. He's got about 10 of them, I think.
Yeah.
So
and they're
impressive.
excellent, and I've picked his brain about it. And yeah, so maybe in the cards one of these days. But yeah, for now it's just fun to. I think something that takes the longest for me with the videos is you still have to have. Well, I would like to have a story behind it and purpose.
Yeah.
So in a way, like even though it's not traditional style, I'm doing a solid.
You're still
amount
trying
And-
to do that, yeah.
writing.
And, but I also think with like the more basic forms of, you know, like journaling and writing are always going to be there. You know, you get all this, you know, dark future view with AI and AI.
Your
take
phone will be
over.
glued
Yeah.
to your eyeball.
Right. But I always think that people are going to appreciate, you know, like
Organic thoughts.
organic thoughts and human interaction. Whether, you know, I mean, yes, an AI can write a book. They can do a podcast in the future or
How
YouTube.
dare you, sir?
But
Threaten me?
I think it's always going to be there where you have people out there that are going to not use
I think
AI.
so. I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean,
People want the real deal, and you can feel it.
Yeah.
Well, and I think as far as reading goes, for me personally, when I read books on the regular, which is typically mostly when I'm out at sea, I feel sharper and smarter and better than if I'm just devouring content on YouTube. Like, hands down. And I don't know. I think you're right. I think there will always be people who appreciate that.
And you'll be able to tell I think you'll always be able to tell the difference,
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I get emails through like PR teams, people trying to get their clients onto like the podcast. And I can tell if it's an AI email in 2 seconds. And I'm just delete. I don't even want to see it. Because
right.
if you're just going to have a computer write an email that... The worst part about it is it's always trying to trick me into like, oh no, this is a human being talking to you.
Right.
I was just listening to your latest episode with such and such, and I think I have a perfect guest for you. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's always
Wait a
so
second,
easy.
that's the exact same thing I said to you.
But yeah, I don't know. It is. It's pretty crazy. But I don't know. I do think though that it's worth putting out and sharing stuff on YouTube, like the videos and everything, because you just never know who you might inspire to be like, I gotta go. I mean, you think about it, even if you put out a video and it gets like 1,000 people that watch it, it's 1,000 people that potentially might be right on the edge of changing their whole life, and it might just be you catching lobsters in the Bahamas that sets them over, and they're like, dude, I gotta give me some of the lobsters. And they go for it. So well done. And like I said, I've only watched a couple of videos, but they are very, very entertaining and very good. So.
Thank you.
We appreciate it very much, and it's been a fun ride, and there's a lot more to come. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just getting started.
Yeah, right? So cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Do you want to plug anything?
I guess a YouTube channel.
Boom. I'll put a link in the description for that, for sure.
That's
Life
on La Cosmica. Life on La Cosmica. Life on La Cosmica.
There we go.
Say it like a bail bond.
Well, nice little. When you gave me your boat card, and for the listeners, a boat card. Most boats and boat owners will actually have like a business card for their boat, so it's an easy way to keep in touch. You also included a sticker, which is on my iPad now. So
yay! Thanks.
Yeah,
it's nice.
Everybody
and it's a good
loves
boat
stickers.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't even have any boat cards, but I have like my regular business card. I'm gonna have to see if I can come up with something. Yeah,
a magnet, anything.
I don't know about magnets, man. Magnets on boats. I'm a big no magnet guy.
Yeah,
they scare me.
Yeah,
I've had some bad.
Put it too close to the compass,
Dude, too close to anything. It's not so much with this boat because I only have the little tiller pilot, but I've seen other boats where the autopilot, like the Ray Marine, like really nice. Just goes haywire because there's magnets too close around it and stuff. It's a little internal compass or whatever.
Right. Yeah. We've had issues with our, autopilot because it was like too close to,
one other. Yeah. Something that has another electrical field or whatever. Yeah. I mean, that used to always be a big thing back in my day when I learned before GPS. I mean, GPS was there, but we didn't use it when I was learning. It was a big thing about where you put your VHF radio and where your compass was and all that stuff. But it seems like nowadays there's just so many gadgets and electrical devices.
It's hard not to.
Yeah, exactly. So who knows? But thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank
Super
you.
fun.
Appreciate it.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.